After a night with his mistress, the billionaire came home to his pregnant wife's diamond wedding ring, her goodbye note, and a revenge years in the making. Evan Harrington's hands trembled as he stared at the diamond ring glittering on his pillow, the ones his wife never took off, the ones that meant she was gone. 8 hours earlier, he'd been a different man, confident, untouchable, wrapped in hotel sheets that smelled like expensive perfume and lies. Ivy Hale had kissed him like she needed him to breathe. Her fingers traced his chest slowly, deliberately, while city lights flickered through the curtains. She whispered his name against his throat, told him he deserved to feel wanted, told him his wife didn't understand him the way she did. He'd believed every word. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, Mara calling. He silenced it. She was 7 months pregnant, probably asking about dinner or the nursery, paint colors, or something domestic that felt suffocating compared to the heat of Ivy's body against his. "Stay," Ivy murmured, pulling him closer. "Just a little longer." So he stayed. He chose the thrill over the vow, the temporary over the eternal. When he finally dressed and left, shirt wrinkled, guilt sitting heavy in his chest, he told himself it was the last time. It was always supposed to be the last time. But now, standing in his penthouse at 3 a.m., staring at the ring, Evan realized there wouldn't be a next time. The house felt wrong. Too quiet. The lights were on, but Mara wasn't there. Her overnight bag was gone. The baby books she kept on the coffee table, gone. The prenatal vitamins by the kitchen sink, gone. Just the ring, and a sealed white envelope with his name written in her careful handwriting. His stomach dropped. He opened it with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. Inside was a single sentence. "You've mistaken my silence for weakness." No accusations. No tears staining the paper. No rage. Just a promise wrapped in 10 words. Evan's pulse hammered. He grabbed his phone. 17 missed calls. 23 unread messages. All from numbers he didn't recognize. The first text made his blood run cold. Board meeting. 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory. Legal. Another. "Mr. Harrington, we need to discuss unauthorized transactions. Please contact us immediately." Another. "Your wife's attorney has requested financial documents dating back 18 months. His chest tightened. What had Mara done? He tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. He called her mother. Blocked. Her sister. Blocked. Everyone who'd ever mattered in his life, blocked. Panic clawed at his throat as he scrolled frantically through his phone. Then he saw it. An email time-stamped while he was with Ivy. Subject line: "You should have chosen better." He opened it. It was a photo. Mara sitting alone in their favorite restaurant, a table set for 2, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. The reservation he'd forgotten. The anniversary dinner he'd blown off to spend the night with his mistress. Below the photo, one line: "I waited for 2 hours. You didn't even call." Evan's knees buckled. He sank onto the bed, the diamond ring cold against his palm. While he'd been drowning in another woman's lies, Mara had been sitting alone, carrying his child, waiting for a man who would never show. And she'd stopped waiting. His phone buzzed again. This time, a message from an unknown number. "Tomorrow, you'll understand what you lost. And by then, it'll be too late. M." The room spun. His billion-dollar empire. His reputation. His wife. His unborn child. Everything felt suddenly, terrifyingly fragile. Because Mara wasn't screaming. She wasn't begging him to stay. She was dismantling his entire world in silence, the way she'd loved him. Quietly. Completely. Devastatingly. And Evan finally understood. The most dangerous woman isn't the one who rages. It's the one who plans. Hi, my wonderful friends. Welcome to Mr. William Chronicles, where powerful stories reveal life's deepest truths. If you're new here, we're glad that you found us. Do me a favor. Give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and join Mr. Williams' family. Let me speak a blessing over you. May you never mistake someone's silence for weakness. May you cherish what you have before it becomes what you had. And may you find the strength to rebuild what you've broken, even when forgiveness feels impossible. Remember, consequences don't come to destroy you. They come to teach you what love actually costs. Before Evan destroyed everything, there was a time when Mara looked at him like he hung the moon. Their first night together wasn't in some expensive hotel. It was in his cramped studio apartment, back when he was building his company from nothing, when failure felt closer than success. She'd shown up in the rain, soaked through, laughing about her broken umbrella. He'd wrapped her in his only clean shirt, too big on her frame, and made terrible coffee that she drank anyway. "You're going to change the world," she'd whisper that night, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest as they lay tangled in sheets that had seen better days. "What makes you so sure?" he'd asked. "Because you see possibilities where others see problems. And because I'll make sure you don't give up." She'd kissed him then, soft, vulnerable, trusting, like she was handing him her heart and believing he'd keep it safe. He hadn't known then that she meant every word. When his first business failed spectacularly, losing investors' money and his reputation, Mara held him through panic attacks at 3 a.m. She worked double shifts at the hospital while he rebuilt. Never complained. Never wavered. "We're a team," she'd say, her hand in his. "Your failures are mine. Your victories are ours." She loved him in the quiet ways that mattered. Morning coffee made exactly how he liked it, her hand finding his under the table during tense investor meetings. The way she'd wait up for him no matter how late, just to hear about his day. Their intimacy wasn't just physical, though God, the way she'd surrender to him, whispering his name like a prayer, her body trembling beneath his touch. It was soul deep. She saw him, really saw him, the ambition and the insecurity, the brilliance and the fear. And she chose him anyway. Then came the pregnancy. Evan would never forget the moment she told him. She'd made his favorite dinner, worn the red dress he loved, her eyes bright with nervous excitement. "We're having a baby," she'd whispered, placing his hand on her still flat stomach. He'd smiled, said all the right things, held her. But inside, something shifted. Fatherhood felt like pressure, responsibility, the end of freedom he wasn't ready to lose. That's when the distance started. Mara noticed. Of course she did. The mornings he left early, without kissing her goodbye. The evenings he came home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. The phone calls he'd take in another room, voice dropping to a whisper. She'd find receipts from restaurants they'd never been to, charges on their credit card for hotels during business trips that didn't add up. Once, she asked him directly, "Are you seeing someone else?" "Don't be ridiculous," he'd said, not even looking up from his laptop. "I'm building an empire, Mara. That requires sacrifice." She'd nodded quietly, walked away. He thought that meant she believed him. He was wrong. Mara started watching, collecting, waiting. She found the burner phone in his gym bag. The text messages to V, Ivy's middle name. Intimate words. Plans to meet. Promises that should have belonged to his wife. She tracked his location through their shared GPS, watched him park outside boutique hotels. Counted the hours he was gone. 6 months pregnant, swollen ankles, carrying their child alone. She became a detective in her own marriage. The breaking point came on their 5th anniversary. She'd made reservations at Marcello's, the restaurant where he'd proposed. She'd bought a new dress that accommodated her growing belly, had her hair done, practiced what she'd say about rebuilding their marriage. She sat at that table for 2 hours, checked her phone obsessively, called him 3 times, texted, "Where are you?" "I'm waiting." Nothing. The waiter brought her water with pitying eyes. Other couples glanced at her, the pregnant woman dining alone, checking her phone like it held answers. At 10 p.m., she paid for the wine she'd ordered for him and left. When she got home, she checked the GPS. His car was parked outside the Riverside Hotel. Her heart didn't shatter dramatically. It cracked quietly, like ice breaking beneath weight it was never meant to hold. She sat in their nursery, the room she'd decorated alone, painted alone, filled with hopes for a family that existed only in her imagination. And she cried. Not because she was surprised, but because she'd finally run out of excuses to make for him. That night, she called her attorney. "I need everything," she'd said, voice steady despite the tears. "Financial records, evidence, a divorce strategy, and I need to make sure my child is protected from whatever comes next." "Are you sure?" her attorney asked gently. Mara looked at the ultrasound photo on the wall. Her son, innocent, deserving better. "I've never been more sure of anything." If you're still watching, I appreciate your investment into Mara's story. Show the story some love. Hit that like button and subscribe, because Mara's about to show Evan what silent strength really looks like. While Evan lay tangled in Ivy Hale's arms, Mara was 3 blocks away in her attorney's office, signing the documents that would end him. "Are you absolutely certain about this approach?" Linda Chen, her attorney, asked carefully. "Once we move forward, there's no going back." Mara's hand rested on her pregnant belly. He made his choice. Now I'm making mine. What Evan didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Mara hadn't just been collecting evidence of an affair. She'd uncovered something far worse. For 6 months, while playing the devoted wife, Mara had been working with a forensic accountant. Every late night Evan claimed was work gave her access to his laptop, his files, his carefully hidden secrets. She'd found the offshore accounts, the transferred funds, company money funneled into private investments, lavish gifts for Ivy purchased with embezzled cash. Evan hadn't just been cheating on his wife. He'd been stealing from his own company. "The board doesn't know yet," Linda said, sliding another folder across the desk. "But they will by morning." Mara opened it. Bank statements, wire transfers, a paper trail so clear even Evan couldn't talk his way out of it. "And Ivy?" Mara asked quietly. Linda smiled, sharp and satisfied. "She's been very cooperative." This was the part that would destroy Evan completely. Ivy Hale wasn't just some mistress who fell for a married man. She was a corporate investigator Mara had hired 8 weeks ago when the financial irregularities first appeared. Beautiful, charming, exactly Evan's type. Her job was simple: get close to him, gain his trust, document everything. And she'd exceeded expectations. She recorded conversations, Linda explained, including one where Evan explicitly discussed hiding assets from the board and from you during the divorce he assumed was coming. Mara's jaw tightened. He'd been planning to leave her with nothing, to take everything they'd built and give her scraps. He also mentioned opening accounts in the Cayman Islands under his mother's name. Linda continued. "That's international fraud, Mara. This isn't just divorce court anymore. This could be criminal." "Good," Mara thought coldly. "Let him feel what it's like to lose everything." "What's our timeline?" she asked. "Tonight, I'll file the divorce petition. Tomorrow morning, the board receives our full report. By noon, the DA's office gets copies of everything. His accounts will be frozen by end of business day." Mara nodded slowly. "And custody? With the criminal investigation and evidence of financial instability, you'll have sole legal custody. He won't be on the birth certificate unless you allow it." Her hand moved protectively over her stomach. Her son would have a father who earned the title, not one who demanded it. "Do it," Mara said. "All of it." That night, the night Evan spent with Ivy, Mara executed Phase 1. She removed her name from all joint accounts Evan couldn't access without her. She transferred her personal savings to a new bank. She packed her essential belongings and moved into her sister's guest house. And she left the diamond ring on his pillow with a note that would haunt him. Before she walked out of the penthouse for the last time, she stood in the nursery. The room she'd painted sky blue, the crib she'd assembled alone, the stuffed animals waiting for a baby who'd never sleep there. "You deserve better than this," she whispered to her unborn son. "And I'm going to make sure you get it." She locked the door behind her and didn't look back. By morning, Evan's phone was exploding with messages he couldn't understand. By afternoon, his world would be ashes. And Mara? She'd be the one holding the match. Evan walked into the conference room, expecting a routine board meeting. What he found was an execution. Mara sat at the head of the table, his seat, visibly pregnant in a tailored navy dress, her expression unreadable as stone. Her hands were folded calmly over documents he couldn't see yet. Flanking her were faces that made his stomach drop. Richard Cole, his CFO. two board members, whose expressions ranged from disgust to cold fury. Mara's attorney, a woman he didn't recognize holding a recorder. And worst of all, the company's ethics investigator. "Sit down, Evan," Mara said quietly. Her voice was steady, controlled. Nothing like the soft woman who used to whisper his name in the dark. "What the hell is this?" Evan demanded, though his voice cracked. "This," Mara replied, sliding a folder toward him, "is accountability." He opened it with trembling hands. The first page was a bank statement. His private account. The one Mara wasn't supposed to know about. Wire transfers highlighted in yellow. 50,000, 75,000, 120,000. All from company accounts. All unauthorized. There's an explanation. "Don't." Mara's word cut like a blade. "I've heard enough of your explanations to last a lifetime." She nodded to Richard, who pulled up a presentation on the screen behind her. Photos appeared. Evan and Ivy at restaurants. Entering hotels. His hand on her lower back. Kissing in an elevator. Timestamps showed the dates. Every single one matched a business trip he'd claimed on company expenses. "You used corporate funds to finance an affair," Richard said, his voice thick with disgust. "While we were fighting to secure investor confidence, you were bleeding the company dry." "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." Mara's voice remained eerily calm. "You spent $83,000 of company money on hotel rooms, jewelry, and dinners with your mistress. You created false expense reports. You lied to the board, to your investors, and to me." She stood slowly, one hand supporting her pregnant belly. The sight of her, carrying his child while presenting evidence of his betrayal, made him feel like the smallest man alive. "But the affair isn't even the worst part," Mara continued. She clicked to the next slide. Offshore accounts. Wire transfers to the Cayman Islands. Hidden LLCs under his mother's name. Evan's blood turned to ice. "You were preparing to divorce me and hide assets," Mara said. "You planned to leave me with nothing while you disappeared our shared wealth into accounts I'd never find." "Mara, please." "I carried your child alone for 7 months," she said, her voice finally cracking. "I worked overtime managing your reputation while you built a second life. I defended you to people who questioned your integrity. And you were planning to rob me blind." A tear slipped down her cheek, but she wiped it away quickly, refusing to break. "This isn't just betrayal, Evan. It's fraud. It's embezzlement. It's criminal." The ethics investigator spoke up. "Mr. Harrington, we've forwarded all evidence to the district attorney's office. You're under investigation for corporate theft and fraud." The room tilted. Evan gripped the table to keep from falling. "You didn't just cheat on me," Mara said softly. "You gambled with everything we built. Every employee who depends on this company. Every investor who trusted you. Our unborn child's future." She walked toward the door, then paused, pulling off her earrings that he surprised her with during her birthday. She placed it on the table in front of him. A final, devastating punctuation mark. "As of today, I'm filing for divorce. You will not contact me. You will not contact my family. And unless you prove you've changed, truly changed, you will not know this child." Evan reached for her desperately. "Mara, wait." She stepped back, her eyes meeting his for the first time that morning. "Actions create consequences, Evan. You taught me that." She turned toward the door, her hand on the frame. "I loved you with everything I had," she whispered. "But love without respect is just slow poison. And I'm done drinking it." She walked out without looking back. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot. Evan sat in the wreckage of his life, surrounded by people who'd once admired him, now staring with contempt. "Your position is terminated effective immediately," Richard said. "Security will escort you out." Evan's empire, built on ambition, lies, and arrogance, crumbled in a boardroom where his pregnant wife had just taught him the cruelest lesson of his life. The people you underestimate are often the ones who destroy you. The unraveling happened faster than Evan could have imagined. Within 48 hours, his name became toxic. Investors pulled funding. Clients terminated contracts, citing ethical concerns. Business partners who'd smiled at galas and shaken his hand now refuse his calls. The penthouse, marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, the home where he'd promised Mara forever, was seized as part of the asset freeze. He moved out with 2 suitcases and a box of belongings nobody wanted. His mother called once. "I spoke to Mara," she said, her voice cold. "She told me everything. Don't call me again until you've become a man worth knowing." Then she hung up. Even his own mother had chosen Mara's side. Evan ended up in a 1-bedroom apartment with water-stained ceilings and a flickering light bulb he couldn't afford to replace. The mattress sat directly on the floor. No frame. No sheets that matched. His luxury watch, sold. His designer suits, donated. His expensive car, repossessed. Everything that had defined Evan Harrington vanished, like it never existed. And Ivy, the woman he'd risked everything for, disappeared the moment the money did. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. He tried calling her once. The number was disconnected. She'd been a ghost who only existed in his wealth. Now that he had nothing, she wanted nothing to do with him. The irony tasted like poison. Nights were the hardest. Lying on that bare mattress, staring at cracks in the ceiling, he'd replay every moment, every choice, every lie. The worst part wasn't losing the money. It was knowing he'd traded a woman who loved him unconditionally for one who loved him conditionally. Mara had stayed through his failures. Ivy vanished at the first sign of his fall. Then came the night that shattered him completely. It was 2 a.m. when his phone buzzed. Mara's sister. "She's in labor." Evan's heart stopped. "Where? Which hospital?" "You're not allowed in, Evan. I'm only telling you because she said you deserve to know your son is coming." "Please," he begged, his voice breaking. "Please let me be there." "That's not my decision. I'm sorry." The line went dead. Evan threw on clothes and drove to Mercy General Hospital, rain hammering his windshield, his hands shaking on the wheel. He arrived drenched, desperate, and was stopped at the maternity ward entrance by security. "I'm her husband," he pleaded. The guard checked a list. "Your name's flagged. You're not permitted on this floor." "That's my son being born in there." "Sir, I need you to leave or I'll call the police." Evan stumbled outside into the rain. He stood in the parking lot, soaked through, staring up at the glowing windows where his child was entering the world without him. Hours crawled by. The rain didn't stop. Neither did his tears. At 6:47 a.m., Mara's sister finally emerged, holding a bundle wrapped in a blue blanket. Evan rushed forward. Is Mara?" "They're both fine," she said softly. "You have a son." His knees nearly buckled. "Can I see him? Please, just for a minute." She shook her head gently. "Not today, Evan. Mara needs space. But she wanted you to have this." She handed him a photograph. A newborn baby. Delicate eyelashes. Tiny fingers curled into fists. Mara's mouth. His eyes. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Evan's hands trembled as he turned the photo over. Mara's handwriting filled the back. "His name is Rowan. Children deserve safety, not chaos. Prove you can give him that." He sank onto the curb, clutching that photograph like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. His son, Rowan, born into a world where his father wasn't allowed to hold him, wasn't on his birth certificate, wasn't wanted. Evan buried his face in his hands and sobbed, the kind of crying that comes from a place so deep it feels like drowning. He'd missed the first breath, the first cry, the moment Mara became a mother. He was a stranger to his own child, and it was entirely his fault. Evan didn't rebuild for himself. He rebuilt for a son who didn't know his name. The jobs came slowly. Warehouse work loading trucks at 4 a.m. Delivery routes that left his back aching. Night shifts stocking shelves while the world slept. Work that men like him, men who'd once commanded boardrooms, never imagined doing. But Evan did it without complaint. He attended court-mandated therapy twice a week, sat in circles with other men confronting their failures, learned to say, "I was wrong," without following it with excuses. He paid restitution. Every dollar he could spare went toward repaying what he'd stolen. He volunteered at homeless shelters on weekends, served meals to people who'd lost everything, just like he had. He lived like a ghost, quiet, humble, desperate to become someone worthy of fatherhood. But every step forward felt like walking through fire. Meanwhile, Mara flourished. She opened a small art gallery downtown, bright, elegant, filled with local artists' work. It became the kind of place where people lingered, where beauty lived. Photos of her circulated online. Mara holding baby Rowan at gallery openings. Mara laughing with customers. Mara glowing with the kind of peace that comes from surviving something that should have destroyed you. She became a symbol. The woman who rebuilt her life after betrayal. The mother who chose strength over bitterness. Evan looked at those photos every night. Not with jealousy, with aching admiration. She'd survived him, thrived without him. And God, she deserved it. 1 year after the divorce, Evan came home from his warehouse shift to find someone standing outside his apartment door. Mara. He froze, keys dangling from his hand. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, framing her face in soft waves. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. And, on her hip, balanced with the ease of practiced motherhood, was Rowan. A toddler now. Bright blue eyes, Evan's eyes. Chubby hands gripping a stuffed elephant. "You look tired," Mara said quietly. Evan laughed, bitter and broken. "I am." She studied his apartment building. The chipped paint. The flickering hallway light. The life he'd fallen into. "You've been working," she observed. "I'm trying," he whispered. Mara shifted Rowan on her hip. The little boy babbled, reaching toward Evan with curious fingers. Evan's breath caught. His son. Right there. Close enough to touch. "Can I?" His voice cracked. "Can I hold him?" Mara's expression softened but remained firm. "Not yet." The words landed like stones. "But you can talk to him," she added gently. Evan sank to his knees on the dirty hallway floor. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at his son, really looked at him, for the first time. "Hi, buddy," he whispered, voice shaking. "I'm your dad." Rowan stared at him with those impossibly blue eyes. Then he smiled, wide and toothy, and laughed. The sound cracked something inside both adults. Mara blinked back tears, her jaw tightening with emotion she refused to release. "You're not forgiven," she said softly, honestly. "I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive you for what you did." Evan nodded, unable to speak. "But you're trying," Mara continued. "And that matters." She crouched down beside him, Rowan between them like a bridge across broken ground. "Redemption isn't about erasing the past, Evan. It's about becoming someone new, someone better, someone this little boy can be proud of." "I want that," Evan said desperately. "More than anything." Mara studied his face, the exhaustion, the regret, the genuine transformation she'd watched from a distance. "Then keep going," she said. "Keep working. Keep healing. Keep proving you've changed. Not for me. Not for us. For him." She stood, adjusting Rowan on her hip. "I'll bring him by again next month. Same time. You can talk to him. Read him a story, maybe. But earn it, Evan. Every single moment." He nodded through tears. "I will. I promise." Mara paused at the stairwell, looking back one last time. "The tragedy isn't that you fell," she said quietly. "It's that you had to lose everything to understand what it was worth. Some people never get the chance to rebuild. Don't waste yours." Then she walked down the stairs, Rowan waving over her shoulder with his tiny hand. Evan stayed on his knees long after they were gone, that wave replaying in his mind like a lifeline. This story doesn't end with happily ever after. It ends with a man on his knees, broken but rebuilding, learning that some mistakes stain too deeply to erase completely. But redemption isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, day after day, year after year, becoming worthy of the love you destroyed, even if you never fully get it back. Because some things are worth fighting for, even if you're the one who broke them. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories about choices, consequences, and the narrow path to redemption. Remember, the person you become after the fall matters more than the person you were before it.